I was in India hanging out with the Cannibals. That's another long story to get into.
That's you're so casual when you deliver these bombs. You're just like, oh, I was in India hanging out with cannibals.
This guy, Kashi Baba, took me to go look for dead bodies in the Ganges River in Varanasi. And anyway, he gave me these ashes, human ash from the sacred fire. I brought them home, and I had like a friend staying the night, and my friend the next day was like, hey, I had a crazy nightmare that there was an Indian guy in your room and he was choking me. Oh my God.
Hello, you beautiful bluebirds, and welcome back to another episode of Deja Blue. I'm stoked on this one. It's not an in-person one, unfortunately. If I was in Detroit, Michigan, then it would be an in-person one. But currently, my guest is over in Detroit, Michigan. Oh, you want to give us a sound effect? Oh, I thought you were going to give us a sound effect for a second. He has a sound effect.
I'm in Detroit, Michigan.
So it is. And I am stoked to introduce you bluebirds to this human, very, very rare specimen. Also on, that borderline question of whether he's actually a human or potentially an alien. It sort of like plays it cool on the outside, but on the inside, there's this like rocking alien that's rubbing his head back and forth to a Turkish rap song. So that's usually my experience of this human, but this person has come into my life in such a beautiful way. I met him at Arcana, Mexico. And yes, that episode I talked about where a 63-year-old lady, also Shapibo Maestra, sucked a fishbone out of my neck. So if you haven't watched that episode, definitely check it out. But this is the time when I got to actually connect with this human, Dakota Wint. Now, Dakota Wint is doing magical stuff. Yeah, he was there. He was filming most of it. In fact, actually, the video that you saw on the YouTube channel, he filmed that. So this human, alien, specimen, being, is a storyteller and a mystic and an artist and a creator. And he has a YouTube channel called Dakota of Earth. And if you're now going, there must be a connection there between Blue of Earth and Dakota of Earth, then you have guessed right. He has been an inspiration in my life and activated lots and lots of different things, including learning to see the magic in the mundane and the mystery inside of a leaf. This is what Dakota brings into my life. And not only are you a storyteller with a YouTube following of just under 500,000 people.
I feel like you'd be such a good hype man. If I was a rapper, just bring you on the stage like before the song start.
Yeah. No, this is
just below, really just about 500,000. That's right.
500,000 people listening to Dakota ramble about the most random of things, as well as he is a photographer and filmmaker. Would you say photographer? I'd say.
I take photos. I would never. I don't know. I don't give myself any titles.
Well, that's what I'm
YouTuber.
for.
I'm a YouTuber.
You're an influencer to a T.
I'm a content creator.
But not only, this isn't just regular content. This isn't just, no, you're definitely not a TikToker. You got kicked off TikTok.
Yeah, I did. I got banned from TikTok.
The videos that you make on YouTube are sort of definitely, I mean, they're popular for a very specific reason, because this man goes into a very questionable situations and documents it from the inside out, involving very, very taboo areas of indigenous practices and cultures that are happening all over the world, where most would not want to ever go and explore, let alone even talk about. And this man is there, going into the core of it and documenting it from the inside out. So you can imagine why his YouTube channel is so popular. But without needing to put so many labels on you, everybody, all the bluebirds, I introduced you to Mr. Dakota Wint.
Hey.
Yeah, give us a sound.
Hold on, here it is. Ready?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't mean to do that one.
I like it though.
Yep. Hello, everybody.
Thanks, Dakota, for being
here.
Thank
you for the beautiful introduction.
Yeah, I told you I wasn't.
Did you write that, or did you just pull that out of? Did you just pull that out of the thought realm?
I pulled it out of my derrière, and I brought it here into this experience. Derrière is ass in French.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
I learn something new every day. Oh, but also I forgot to mention that you're also a host of your own podcast, A Place for Humans.
A Place for Humans podcast.
Mm-hmm. So
right.
you're not familiar with the podcast realm?
A little familiar with podcast realms.
Mm-hmm. So I'm excited that you're now being a guest. Are you a guest on many podcasts?
I actually did one yesterday.
Oh, okay.
I did one. His name is Adeptus Psychonautica. That's his YouTube channel, like a psychedelic guy. I did one with your mate Tom. Me and him do each other's podcasts all the time. It's basically I'm usually a guest on his podcast, and he's a guest on my podcast. Your mate Tom is my homie. You never got to meet Tom, but you'll meet him one day.
I haven't met Tom.
He's stuck in Australia.
Oh, Australia.
Yep, he's not able to leave. Otherwise, he would have been in Mexico with us. You'll meet him. He's a homie.
Amazing. Okay, cool. So you're used to being on other people's podcasts. Well, welcome to Deja Blue Podcast and to all of the Bluebirds that are being connected with you today. I'm so excited to have you here. So I met you at Arcana, and you were working at Arcana as one of the facilitators.
Yep, I was a facilitator.
Would you share with me just a little bit about how did you even get caught up in that?
So I was invited to Arcana from Jose's, the owner of Arcana. He reached out to me and wanted me to come make videos in Peru, in the jungle, in the Sacred Valley. He's like, I'll invite you out here and you do your thing and you'll get to experience ayahuasca in a traditional setting in the jungle and it'll be cool. And I said, okay. I was really scared the whole time because I was like, I'm so scared to take ayahuasca because I knew already like how intense psychedelics can be. And if you take it without a reason, like I know that the spirit of the plants can kind of be offended if you go into it just to go into it. And so I was like, okay, I don't want to just go to Peru to make videos just to sort of get views or whatever. So I sat with it for I think a year, and then a year went by and I said, okay, I'll do it. And then like a couple of days later, Jose called me and we set it up and I found myself in a little boat in the Amazon. And then I took ayahuasca and the whole experience changed my life. I ended up getting trapped at Arcana in Peru during COVID. When COVID started, I was there for 4 months living with the shamans and just living a crazy life it was in the mountains in the Andes, just hanging out, drinking ayahuasca, telling ghost stories around campfires, making marshmallows sometimes. I got arrested.
It's not a horrible place to be caught with COVID.
No, it's the best. It was one of the coolest experiences ever. I was walking along the river and the cops came and they gave me a ticket. Took me in the police car and gave me a ticket.
For what?
For COVID, you weren't supposed to be out.
Oh, wow. Yep. So it was really, really locked down.
Yeah, it was super locked down, but like Arcana is a whole center, so it was nice.
Mm-hmm. And how often were you?
The one time I left, they got me.
Damn, they're on it. Damn. How often were you drinking ayahuasca while you were out there?
Probably like once a week.
For how long were you there during the lockdown?
4 months, I think.
And this is your introduction into the plant world?
No.
This is your introduction to ayahuasca?
This is my introduction to ayahuasca. And this is my introduction to the world of Shipibo shamanism. And I've already, at this point, I had already traveled to Mexico and sort of been hanging out with the Mazatecs a little bit and, taking mushrooms and ceremonies with them. And me and Jose, I took Jose actually to Mexico to meet Jasmine and Eugenia. I don't know which one you did the ceremonies with the mushrooms. Do you remember? Did you get both of them?
What, both nights?
No, because you came to Arcana twice, right? Did you do mushrooms both times?
No, it was peyote the first time.
Okay, and then you did the mushroom ceremony with Maestro Eugenia?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I took Jose and we went there and we met her and that's how she got hooked up with Arcana. Mm-hmm. But, so I was kind of already exploring the world of shamanism and, the Shipibo in the Peruvian jungle magic world is a whole different level. So to actually be in it was really interesting. And to be living with Maestro Justina's son and some other guy. I was living with this guy, Artingo. And check this guy. This guy's crazy. He's got the typical shaman. He's this short guy from the jungle. He's got kind of messed up teeth, long nails. He's got one short leg, and he walks with like a limp. And his name's Artingo. And even though he speaks Spanish, it doesn't sound like he's speaking any known language. And he dieted gasoline. Oh, you said you knew someone that dieted gasoline too, right?
Yes, but tell me about this guy, and I'll tell you all about Oscar.
This guy is a total like, he used to be a total brujo, like just doing like magic in the jungle with plants. And so what happened was he got bit by an alligator or a crocodile, whatever ones are in the Amazon. He got bit by it and it got him in the leg. So I think someone in his family tried to heal him with the plants. They started healing him with the plants, and he started learning about the plants through this way. And eventually just realized the power that's like hidden in the forest, you know? He healed his leg. I mean, kind of, he's still got this limp and stuff. But he became a shaman that way. He discovered the power of the plants through getting bit by this alligator. And
so casual, you know?
So casual, just life in the jungle. And he told me he used to be a brujo, and he used to just be doing dark magic, communicating with spirits. And then eventually he dieted gasoline and all kinds of stuff. And he dieted the Bible. And he said that's when he decided to become like a healer.
Hold on, I'm going to need to unpack this one for a hot second, because what you just said in a very short period of time was a lot to take in. So
it sounds like a whole different world. It is actually a whole different world.
I mean, it is a completely whole different world. Like the stories that I heard from my teachers out there, like absolutely mind-blowing. You told me he dieted with gasoline and the Bible. Can you break that one down a little bit? That's super dense.
Okay. So we'll put some context into what dieting is. I'm sure maybe your audience knows about it because you've done it before. But in like Amazonian shamanism and probably other places, they have this concept called what they consider dieting a plant. And these plants are basically medicinal plants or psychedelic plants that give you knowledge when you take them for a long time. And in ceremony, you can call upon these plants that you dieted, that you sort of befriended, and they will help you during your ceremony to heal yourself, heal other people, and you activate them through singing to them. And and you can diet other things. So this shaman I was living with, he dieted gasoline. So sometimes in his songs, when he's singing in ceremony, he sings gasoline.
And in my head, I'm like, gasolina.
Gasolina. Yeah, it is. And he sings to gas. And then he'll sing to like Jesus Cristo. So he'll be singing like gas Jesus. And he sings like these giant whirlwinds around the Maloka, like the sacred space. He calls them Solimans, and he'll be blowing them all into all the corners. He's like a far out shaman. He's really cool. But yeah, it's a whole different world. It's the world of like plant magic, which you know a little bit about. I mean, which you know a lot of bit about. You know, we just spent the time doing it.
I want to go into that in a moment. Can you please break down how one diets a Bible? How do you diet a Bible? Don't tell me he ate the whole thing.
So yeah, you diet the Bible. Yeah, we asked him this. We asked him, how did you diet the Bible? And he... I think he just said he just read it all the time. And just like really, really like he treated it like a dieta though, you know, like he was in isolation and maybe still doing the strict diet and stuff with the specific intention to just, you know, take in the Bible, the word of the Bible.
What is happening out in the Amazon jungle is so far beyond what we can even comprehend, specifically people that live in the United States, of just the way of life over here. And then the way of life of what's actually going on in the Amazon is insane. One of my teachers, Oscar Rodriguez, he did a diet with gasoline. And ultimately I was just sort of like, why, right? Like you've broken down that essentially what he did, but what's the why behind it? Why would you want to diet something that could potentially kill you? And what Oscar said to us was that if he can learn to transmute gasoline out of his field, then he can transmute anything out of the field. And so it's
that's
like,
so cool.
one of the hardest things to transmute out of the body and not let it actually like take you down. And if you can get over that, then anything in the psychic space or anything in the shamanic space is transmuted much easier. So apparently Oscar
any
drank.
shaman that dieted that, I trust them. They're probably like the real deal. If you diet gas,
if you diet gasoline, I trust you with my childhood trauma. Basically.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a mindfuck actually, really, what's going on in the Amazon. And I think that you've got some really like fantastic stories and fascinating stories of like, you know, spending. I would say that you are one of the most fascinating humans when it comes to very interesting stories that most people are not putting themselves in those sort of positions. What is it for you that you feel called to go and put yourself in these sort of positions? And by the way, Dakota put himself in a position where he went and stayed with a satanic family for a week to go document their satanic rituals to actually understand what's going on. Oh, a couple of times, not just once.
I visited them twice. Yeah, I mean, what was your question?
What is that? What's that desire?
Situation?
Well, it's not how do you get yourself in these situations, because I want to go deeper into that. Like, what's the desire there? Like, what is your intention of like being a guy from Detroit, Michigan that could have totally gotten a 9-to-5 and could totally be working at Ross right now, you know, be boss of Ross. But no, he is hanging out with a family in Mexico, in a satanic family, documenting it and putting it on YouTube. What was that pull for you?
I don't know. You know, like I feel like when I look back in my life, I've always had this intense pull, like a magnetic draw towards mystery. I remember being a kid, I was obsessed with anything that was unusual, like the Loch Ness Monster, aliens, Bigfoot, El Chupacabra, everything, anything, you know, like anything you can think of. Cryptozoology is what they call it. That's for like the OGs out there that are into that kind of stuff. But in conspiracy theories, I get into anything that was just sort of made life seem like it was bigger. And I've always just been kind of riding that wave. I don't know. I don't know how I got myself into these situations. I just kind of follow my feet and it just kind of happens. I think like what it is I think of the people that inspire me most. You know, I think of people like Ram Dass or Timothy Leary, Alan Watts, Jack Kerouac, all these like amazing poets and just, you know, like crazy figures, you know, that are their lives are like larger than life. It seems, you know, they're like legendary stories. I want to live a life that's like that. I want to live a life that's crazy. You know, you hear about like Ram Dass like went to India and he just like took his shoes off and just decided not to wear shoes in India anymore. And that's something I always wanted to do now. Just go to India and just not wear shoes. Or like Jack Kerouac going to Mexico and taking peyote and or just like all his crazy travels. Like all Jack Kerouac stuff really interests me. And I just feel like I'm sort of an echo or combination of what all those guys started.
Mm-hmm. And I remember you told me that you watched the movie The Beach, and The Beach was like a huge tug for you. Leonardo DiCaprio, The Beach, unbelievable movie where he goes off and finds a treasure map and finds this tiny island and joins this little tribe and all of the things. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, there's been a few like good movies and things like that have really inspired me, but that's a really good one to inspire you. You know, I feel like people just don't realize you can just do things. Mm-hmm. And it took me a while to do that. Like I worked for a music festival, which really gave me a lot of freedom and really broke me out of having to work a normal job. And it really showed me how easy it is to work for yourself and start a business if you really try. You know, if you really do try, and you know, most people that do try are successful in some manner, you know, in working for themselves, because you're gonna work hard no matter what in life. This is what life is about. You know, we're in this position for some weird, strange reason, and we're putting, you know, we just have to work hard. So you're either gonna work hard for someone else in their dream, or work hard for yourself. And yeah, I don't know. I just like this working for this music festival really gave me that self-awareness. And I just like started just doing things. Because you can just play with life, you know? You can just like, life is like an interactive game. You can just do things. And people don't. People just like do what they're sort of think they're supposed to do. Get a job, start a family, buy a house, do it like, it's like you can like go to Peru and hang out in the Amazon with witches or like Mexico with Satanists or like random yogis that live in caves, or you can just go do these things. Like that stuff is happening on this planet right now, the same time that we are just living in our sort of day-to-day mundane lives. We're just going through this thing. We don't really acknowledge how mysterious life is outside of our immediate environment because we're sort of stuck in this loop. But there's like crazy stuff happening all around the world. It's insane. And you can go and interact with that and be a part of that insaneness. And I feel like that is just like what I want to do. And that's how I find myself in these situations.
And I think that's why your content is so popular and so powerful for people, because we don't realize, you know, we're sitting in our like 9-to-5 experience or our box experience of like, it's almost like ice cube trays. It's just like, this is what it means to
Shout
be
out
a
to Ice
human
Cube.
and everybody. And people watch your YouTube channel and they watch your videos and they're like, holy shit, this stuff exists. But it's got to take like a lot of courage to go and, for example, sit under a bridge in India with a man that has never left this little cave, and just you and this man just to sit together. And what did you do when you were with him?
With the guy in the cave?
Yeah.
Well, okay, so I had this sort of romantic idea of going to India, meeting a guru, meeting a yogi, and learning from them, like a real authentic like sadhu that's going to like enlighten me or something, you know? And so any sort of hint or tip I got about meeting these kind of guys, I'd go for it. You know, I spent so much time with sadhus in India, just trying to meet ones that have supernatural powers, or, you know, ones that are just have a reputation of being very saintly or holy. So I heard about this one that's maybe an hour outside Rishikesh, living in a cave, and apparently he hasn't left the cave in 12 years, and he hasn't talked in 12 years. He took this oath of like absolute like detachment from the world. Like, I'm going to quit talking to everybody. I'm just going to go in this cave and I'm not coming out. And people go and leave him food and stuff. And I decided like, I want to go and see what's up with this guy. So I got some milk, I got some bread, I got some hash, some tobacco. And I like got my scooter in India and Rishikesh and just like up through the little windy mountains. And, you know, people were like, okay, you'll see this waterfall. It's a beautiful waterfall. And it is a beautiful waterfall. And it's sort of in the jungle. There's monkeys around and stuff. And they were like, just look for like, you'll see clues. You'll see like some cloth hanging around and like some like paraphernalia, some spiritual paraphernalia left by the sadhu. You know, just look around for it. Keep following the trail. So like maybe 15 minutes, you walk through a trail and you see an orange cloth. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm close. So I keep on walking, and you know, you just kind of follow the sound of the waterfall. And eventually you get to a cave, and the cave has like a blanket in front of it. And I just like, hello.
As you do.
Hello, sir. Hello, it's me. I have milk for you. I just went in there and like I gave him this little blanket that I was wearing like as a shawl, and he put it around his head and like did this yoga pose and like stood there for a couple minutes. I gave him the bread, I gave him the milk, and we just kind of sat there, you know, like, I mean, we didn't talk about anything because he doesn't talk. But, like, we listened to some music on my phone, like some different, like, you know, like Hare Krishna music and this kind of stuff. And I just kind of sat there with him. We smoked some chillums. The chillum I smoked with that guy is right here somewhere, over here on my table. I don't see it right now, but yeah, we were just basically just getting stoned in this little cave with this. And he's got, I personally, I don't know about other people, but I had such romanticizations of like, these experiences. So I was like, just thinking this is going to be like a Buddha or something, and this guy is just sort of like a crazy guy that lives in a cave. He had like his crazy eyes, and like he would start like twitching, and his hair was all wild. There was rats living in the caves, and it seemed like he was very like his behavior was very erratic. And I mean, it's like what you expect for a guy that lives in a cave,
Mm-hmm.
He's a little crazy. I mean, it was fun to hang out with him and nothing bad against the guy, but he lives in a cave. He's a crazy guy a little bit. And, but anyways, yeah, at the end of the day, it seemed more like I was just getting high with the crazy guy than it did some kind of spiritual experience. But it was great. It was one that I'll remember, and I will go back and meet him one day.
Because you put a video of it on your Instagram TV, and I just stumbled across it without the context for it. Now that I've got the context, it seems a little bit more heroic than it does crazy. Is it? Oh, I see. This is from that experience.
Yeah, this is a chillum, and it's got like Shiva's trident carved into it. You can't really see. And it's such a bad idea to smoke it out of this type of like brass or whatever this is. Because I remember when we were smoking it, it would like burn my hand, and he didn't care at all. He kept smoking it. That was one distinct thing I remember.
The video about on your Instagram story, it just looks like you're sitting in a cave smoking hash with a crazy man. Like that actually what it looks like. And then you submerge yourself, like you come out of the cave and then you're in the middle of this jungle.
I looked all over India for enlightenment in that form. And I met some cool people, like I went to India with Krishna Das, who's amazing. He was in India with Ram Das, and they met their guru, Neem Karoli Baba, who they speak about him in such like the way that the Gospels talk about Jesus or something. They talk about Neem Karoli Baba having all these crazy. Do you know the story of Neem Karoli Baba at all?
No.
He's really cool. Like he's the one that gave Ram Das the name Ram Das. So like hanging out with these guys, these guys are like the original hippies. Ram Dass, in my eyes, is a huge part of the movement of being a bridge between the Eastern spirituality and the sort of Western hippie movement. Everyone was taking these psychedelics, having these spiritual experiences and not having a proper framework for it. And Ram Dass played such a big cultural role in being a bridge for that. And so, he went to India looking to give sadhus LSD because he was having these crazy experiences. Him and Timothy Leary and all these guys were taking LSD and having, the same kind of realizations we have, that we talk about oneness, about, these overwhelming love feelings and connectedness and, realizations of time and geometry and, all the stuff that comes as a byproduct to the deep psychedelic experience. So Ram Dass was like, I want to go to India and give these sadhus LSD and see what happens. And he ended up meeting Neem Karoli Baba, and he gave, they were calling it yogi medicine. And he was like, all right, give me some of that yogi medicine. Neem Karoli Baba said this to Ram Dass. So Ram Dass pulls his pocket out or whatever, and he had like these LSD tabs or whatever, and Neem Karoli Baba just takes them all and puts them in his mouth. And like before Ram Dass has like an opportunity to dose it out and give him one. He's like, oh shit. Like I just gave like this 60-something-year-old man in India the highest dose of LSD possibly. He's going to freak out. So, they sit there and Karoli Baba starts just making all these crazy faces and putting his hands over his head and sticking his tongue out of his mouth. And Ram Dass is like, oh my God, how am I going to explain this to everyone that's, because Neem Karoli Baba was a guru. He's like, how am I going to explain this to everybody? I drugged the guru. And then Neem Karoli Baba just starts laughing. And he looks at Ram Dass and he said, this can take you and it can put you in a room with Christ, but it's better to become Christ. And, I mean, it's a cool story. Ram Dass is really cool. And I
What's your
forgot what we're
take
talking
on
about.
that though? I'm curious, because a lot of your content is based around psychedelics
Yeah.
and the places that you go on the psychedelics and the insights and the downloads, what the mushrooms told you, and all the things.
Mhm.
I'm curious though, right? So he's saying like he took a large amounts of LSD, and he's saying like, yeah, you can go into the room, but with Christ, but it'd be better to become Christ. What
Yeah.
do you feel like he's implying with that?
I think he's implying. So when I took Sapo, the 5-MeO DMT toad medicine that comes from Sonora in Mexico, I've done it with you. I had this sort of which felt like a death. Like this is totally what I imagined death to be like. I just like started breathing. I sort of heard my breathing go into myself as if I was listening to my breathing, like from inside my body. And then it just seemed to like, just sort of like go out of my body into like the air and just become everything. And everything became white. And in this spaciousness, it seems like what all these religions are trying to philosophize about, like the compassion of the Buddha, the spaciousness, the emptiness that Buddha talks about, or like the forgiveness of Christ and the love of Christ. And like in this whiteness or in this like space, everything's perfect and everything is totally okay. Everything that you've done in your life that's bad, everything you've done that's good, it's like it's all cool. Everything's totally cool. And I feel like that place I think is eternally happening while we sort of hop around this temporary experience from attachment to attachment and changing form to changing form. We're sort of lost in paying attention to the morphingness of everything instead of like, it's almost like we're like paying attention to the shapes in the clouds instead of acknowledging the eternal sky that's behind it. And I think there is like this eternalness, which is that sort of place that's just this spaciousness of compassion and forgiveness and love. And it's just perfect. And there's no accidents there. And there's no suffering there. I think what Neem Karoli Baba was saying is like, we can be that because we're already there. We are actually there more than we are here. And you don't need plants or LSD or anything to get you there. But in a culture like ours, it's definitely like the easiest and most efficient route. I think it's easy for some sadhu to say that grew up in, some rural part of India. He doesn't have to. It's a totally different lifestyle than what we live into. I love it, and I love the romantic aspect of that. But I think like we are a consumeristic culture, like America, Europe, and like just Western world is very consumeristic. So like it makes sense to me that our spirituality and our self-realization and our enlightenment is going to come in the form of a material thing like LSD or mushrooms or ayahuasca. Like we are that's the way that we filter the world, is through that sort of exchange.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it makes sense that that's going to be a big part of the awakening of our culture. And you start to see it all over now, that it's like starting to become decriminalized. It's starting to become looked at through a more scientific way, because now with the internet and stuff, it's hard to ignore it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't ignore it. Like the data is not even an argument at this point. Like these things have profound effects on people. And but yeah, like ultimately what I think Neem Karoli Baba was saying is true. You don't need anything. You are already we're already something. We are already pure. So we just have to somehow realize it and encompass that realization. And it's easy to see that when you're on a psychedelic.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you bring it into real life, deep practice, I guess.
Well, that's the thing, is like in the consumerism essentially mindset in the United States, and it's like it does match that in the sense of taking something or receiving something and then having a blasted experience of seeing the potential of the human experience, seeing the potential of energy, seeing the potential of the energy systems that run within us and how the universe works and how interconnected we all are. And yet eventually on the other side of it, it wears off. And if that individual is not necessarily doing what is called quote unquote the work in their everyday life, then there's a dependency, there's a codependency that's created to access those states through the plant medicine. So I think that this is a huge piece that isn't really discussed a lot.
Yeah. And it's easy to do that if you're some yogi in India, you know.
Right.
So I think that's easy for him to say that when, you know, from our perspective, that's such a hard thing to do. We don't have the capacity to go leave our families and be completely detached from the world. India has a structure and a culture that's sort of built around that. So these types of people can exist. And it's great because they can remind us of the truth of, hey, this is all an illusion. Everything is cool, you know, relax. So it's cool that those guys have, you know, that we have that pocket of the world. But, you know, it's tough for us. It's tough for us in the West that are so, you know, our entire identities are anchored to this consumeristic, capitalistic world. You know, everything that we do it revolves around what product we're wearing or this or that or makeup or this unrealistic beauty standard that our culture has us all like trying to like live towards. And, you know, we're really in like a dark place, you know, and I think, yeah, it's hard. It's hard to bring these realizations into like something tangible. And I think like the psychedelic experience is the thing that's going to blast people there. But yeah, I don't know. How do we obtain it past that?
Well, that's like the massive point of focus for me, because my relationship with the plant medicines up until this point for the past like 7 years have been so profound. And I've literally been blasted into a whole new state of awareness based off of me working with these plant medicines, and simultaneously also realizing that my mind still was super loud and I was still suffering and I was still feeling unworthy and feeling this and these energies that were not serving me, and been sitting with the medicines for a while, blasting into a profound amount of wisdom of the interconnected nature of all of life. And yet the biggest piece that was missing was the integration piece, which was, you know, there's a happy medium between going off and sitting in a cave and literally disconnecting from life and then saying, oh, but yeah, you can just do it and connect to that place. But if you talk to somebody that lives in the city and have 4 children, it's a completely different experience. And simultaneously, there's got to be a happy medium of integration for the bridge of like, especially the eagle and the condor to actually come together and be anchored in this dimension, and not to rely just solely on the plants to do it for us, because they will show us what's available and they'll show us what's possible, but they won't do the work for us. And I'm seeing also like with ayahuasca circles, people sitting for 20 years and they're sitting every single weekend and they're like still assholes, or like still like, you know, not treating the earth with care and not really integrating the wisdom that they're being shown, and then creating a codependency on the medicine itself. And so I'm not realizing the importance of this until I've committed myself to doing the work that with Sadhguru and like doing the meditations every day, and realizing like I have a lasting sense of joy that has started to be cultivated in me by just sitting in stillness and actually recognizing that there's a lot of magic in this place. But within the consumer mindset, we're constantly striving for the next high and the next overstimulation and the next thing, and the scrolling on the phone and opening the fridge and masturbating and doing this. And it's all constantly just distraction from like, can I actually be with my breath? Huh?
I said, do you have a camera in my house?
Yeah, actually, it's my OnlyFans account. From my camera side.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's a weird thing we got going on. We're weird animals. What are we doing?
I just feel like there's a happy medium between this, because I respect immensely the world of the plant medicines and ayahuasca and the mushrooms and the insights that come, and then also how, I mean, do you feel like you have an integration practice from these insights that come to you to allow it to become the default that you live in?
just being alone and constantly putting myself in these crazy situations. Because when I'm in these constant crazy situations, and my life really is crazy. Like I really do find myself in like a consistent, like the last 5 years of my life have been so insane. Like most normal people would not believe this sort of things I found myself in. But like to do these kind of things, like it's impossible not to be constantly reminded of like that this is weird, this is strange, life is way crazier than like what's going on here at home. And And I don't know what the balance is. Yeah, like that's like my practice is like to constantly be in positions that remind me of the mystery, constantly be in a position that just that keeps me engaged, in that.
Mm-hmm.
That keeps me engaged in that just like the radiance of the weirdness of stuff.
Mm-hmm. And that's what your content does, though. It allows people to recognize the amount of magic that's actually happening on the planet, and it exists on the other side of our comfort zone. And you are just like essentially a professional comfort zone pusher. If that was like your business card, it'd be like Dakota Wint, professional comfort zone pusher, constantly looking for the next taboo.
I'm so uncomfortable too. Like I'm such an uncomfortable person.
In what sense?
I don't know. I'm just always uncomfortable around in every situation, except crazy situations, which is it's so bizarre. Like in normal situations, like when I go order tacos or something, I get like social anxiety. And like when I have to go to a drive-thru, I'm just like, oh God, what do I want? I don't know. But like when I'm like hanging out with crazy guys in a cave, I'm like, this is normal. This is what life is about right here.
Where most people would be like dying to get out of that situation or fearing for their life, you're like, all right, I found my natural pulse again.
Yeah.
Back in the driving seat of your experience. Can you share with us a little bit about your satanic experience? Because this one, I mean, I've heard this story multiple times and I can hear it and again at least another 10 times.
I don't even know where to start. So, yeah, like to go back to when I was younger, witchcraft and witches was another part of that sort of pull towards the strange and the unusual, like the Bigfoot and all that kind of stuff. Witches was another thing I got really into. And I always wanted to learn real witchcraft, which is probably, in a lot of ways what kind of led me to learning about psychedelics and this kind of stuff. I think that is a form of real witchcraft. So, witchcraft is kind of a weird term to use because it's got so many weird associations with it. But wait, what was your question again?
We're going into the satanic, the
satanic people. That's right.
Situation.
So that's a part of my travel things. I like to go hang out with witches around the world, Romania, in Mexico, Peru, maybe somewhere else too. I can't remember, but I like to go hang out with the witches and see what's going on with the local magic whenever I'm in somewhere. And I heard about this town called Catemaco in Veracruz in Mexico. And this is like the witch capital of Mexico. This whole town is like just like filled with what in Spanish is called a brujo or a bruja. It's these people that work with magic. They work with plants, or they, do spirit communication, or, some of them will do the more like novel things, tarot reading and palm reading and, traditional Mexican limpias with the eggs. And the interesting thing is like, it's not a tourist destination. Like I went there, I was like, I'm going to go meet the witches, and there's going to be like witch shops with like little hats and broomsticks. And when I went there, it's like more like animal sacrifice and devil statues. So
now, this is where most of the population would have turned around and gone home, but you keep going further and deeper into it. And this is why it makes you a very majestic human being. Anyway, continue.
So I meet this man. His name is Enrique. And I go to his house. His entire house is like a witchcraft Satan sanctuary. Pentagrams everywhere. Santa Muerte statues are everywhere, like this giant saint with a skeleton face. There's some Catholic stuff around. And his kids, there's kids playing. They've got like some goats that are like sacrificed, a goat head hanging from the tree. It's like something like, it looks like a set of a horror movie. Really weird.
So it's so not vegan. Like it's the most un-vegan experience.
Yeah, it's definitely not vegan. And if you go way in his backyard, he's got like his yard is huge. So he's got this giant pentagram that's like sort of hidden in the trees. And you walk out of the trees and there's another even bigger pentagram where he does all the animal sacrifices. So like at the equinoxes throughout the year, they'll sacrifice a goat, and then they all pass around the blood and they drink the blood and they kill this goat so slow. It's such a crazy thing. And, you know, you can watch the videos on YouTube of them doing these rituals. And anyway, so you keep walking. There's like a museum full of witchcraft items and satanic items. And then you keep going even further back, and he's got this little shed. It just looks like a normal kind of creepy horror movie shed. And he unlocks it with this like padlock and key, and it's like all rusty, and like the door creaks when it opens, like scrapes across the ground. And then you walk down these little concrete steps into like a cellar kind of situation. You know, it's like the sort of place that's like where you would imagine a light flickering and like water dripping, like. And then you're just in this like cave that he built, and there's a 10-foot Satan statue with a giant penis, and they put blood on this it's like an erect penis, and they pour blood on it with the sacrificed animals. There's a real human skull at its feet. There's just like different Satan statues and Lucifer statues all around the room, and it's got like red and blue lights, and it's a big table in the middle where they do you know, I imagine they probably do orgies and stuff in there. I don't know what they got going on, but it looks like an orgy, crazy porno set. And there's pictures of people that like crazy jealous husbands and jealous wives have brought in to like, you know, I want this person to love me, or I want to curse this person. You know, really crazy stuff. And yeah, I mean, I hung out with these guys. I found them to be actually really normal. You know, they're just kind of like a family.
Outside of the cave situation and the whole like sacrificing.
Well, that's one cave. There's another cave. So this is just one family. This is like this guy's compound around his house. And I think he's a cool guy. You know, I would never say he's like
he's
evil.
a cool guy.
I would never say he's evil or anything. Like, you know, I would trust myself around him. You know, like I seen him interact with the world. Super quirky guy, like the type of, he's, you know, ironically, he's like the type of guy that would like have his shoes untied and like trip over himself. Like he's very like quirky. He's not like a scary satanic guy. He's like a quirky, it'd be a perfect TV show. Like this like quirky satanic dad that's like raising this family. But anyway, so like you go off into the actual jungle, maybe like an hour from this place. You take like a 20-minute, sorry, my antivirus has expired, so I get that message sometimes if you just heard that noise. You walk into the jungle like 15, 20 minutes, and you come off to a clearing. So you're like on a little trail. There's trees everywhere. It's like the actual jungle, like as if we're walking through Mexico or something. It is Mexico, but I mean like as if we were walking through the Yucatan or something where we were. It comes off to a clearing. And when I got to this clearing, there was a huge pentagram with candles all around it and some kind of white substance making the pentagram, like salt or chalk or something, in front of a beautiful pond. And weirdly, there was a broomstick there, which I thought was so funny that there was a broomstick there. And there was pictures of people ripped up, and the candles were still lit, which I thought was so wild. And so you walk up, and there's another cave up above where this the pentagram is. And in this cave is like the real deal. This is like where all like the brujos go to do their real dark magic. There's thousands of cockroaches all over the ground and crawling on the walls. And the mud is real thick. So every step you sort of like squick, and your shoe gets stuck in the mud. And you're stepping over like witchcraft paraphernalia, people's faces and money and cigars and broken beer bottles. And then you get to like the statue of Satan, another statue. This one's even scarier. And it's just sitting at the end of this cave. And there's candles already lit that are in the cave. And there's dead chickens. There's all kinds of just crazy stuff surrounding this statue. And it's real. Like right now, if we were there, we could walk and you could experience this and see it. Like it's not like when I'm in these adventures, I feel like it's like a tourist attraction or something, or like a pop-up show that's just here for me to film the video. But it's crazy. Like this is actually happening right now. Like there's people that go there and do this pilgrimage to sacrifice chickens and stuff to this Satan statue. in Catemaco in Veracruz. But other than that, Catemaco is really cool.
Dakota, can you please, I mean, just you telling me the story, if you're watching this on YouTube now, you'll see my face throughout the whole time you're telling me this story.
You ever want to go, we can go.
Alrighty, so like we were saying, Mercury is in retrograde right now, and the camera is all sorts of, excuse my French, fucked up. So we're going with the webcam now, so that will give you a little disclaimer as to if you're watching this podcast, and you'll see that my webcam quality has significantly decreased, but I'm still here and we're going to keep going and we're going to rock on and we're not going to take it as an L. So anyway, Dakota, you're telling me that about the Satanic family, and that if I wanted, I could go and check this out, because this is not just some sort of souvenir shop. This is actually happening in real time. There is not a single cell out of all 74 trillion cells inside of my body that wants to go and explore this firsthand. However, I am curious. First and foremost, I'm curious about a lot of it. Secondly, I'm super curious about you and the fact that you're in this situation. Are you not scared by this point, by you getting to the second cave that's like the real deal?
I was scared. There was one moment I was scared, is when I was walking to the shed. In front of the shed is a goat that's a crucified goat, like a dead goat that had been skinned, but its head was still there. And they like had taken the skin and stretched it to be like a crucified goat. And when I saw that, I was like, okay, this isn't like, this is not really a joke. Like, these guys are actually for real about this stuff. And walking down the stairs into the Satanic cave and walking into the real Satan cave. Yeah, I was scared because we didn't know. I was with a friend, and we didn't know what are we going to do if there's someone in there? Mm-hmm. You know, what if we walk up and there's like cartels doing some crazy sacrifice or something? You know, and we walk up into some crazy situation. So that's what I was scared about. Yeah, I was a little scared about that, but I mean, you know. Why do you feel like they are doing this? What are they getting from this, right? Because I feel like, you know, in the human experience, we've got the polarities, we've got the light, we've got the dark, right? So with the sisters, the work that I'm doing with the sisters, for example, in my online group Container right now, is we do rituals, and the rituals are like lighting a candle and then sending a blessing to every single person that you love and wish them well and all of that sort of stuff. This seems to be the flip side of the coin here, where we've got a statue, we've got candles, we've got offerings. We make offerings of flowers and roses and different teas and things. They're making offerings of living animals that are suffering in a very deep way, and then making that offering to quote unquote Satan. So what do you think they're getting out of this? Like power, or what's going on here? I thought about it. I don't know. I can't figure it out. You know, I've invited him, Enrique, the guy that I hang out with when I go there, the Satan guy I hang out with. I invited him to come take mushrooms with us in Oaxaca, because I feel like he would have a very, very dark trip, and I don't think he'd be able to handle it. I feel like most of these guys would be confronted with things that would show them like the real, like what Satan is really about, you know? And who knows, maybe like in the afterlife they'll have to deal with it, but he won't really, he doesn't, and she's not really that interested in doing a ceremony. I try to convince him, but it'll be bad news if he doesn't. I feel like, you know, mushrooms or ayahuasca, they really do show you your actions and, you know, the repercussions of your actions, of the ripples that it sends out into the world.
I watched the video you did on YouTube about this. Go for it.
About the Satanist?
Yeah, I watched of course, like you told me the story when we were sitting over, like I'm eating like a bowl of blueberries, you know, are kind of like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, all innocent and all the things. And I'm like, you seem like a very interesting person. Tell me a little bit more about you. And then we end up like down a rabbit hole of conversation, and then we end up on this sort of topic. And so of course I'm super curious. And when I come back from Mexico, I check out your YouTube channel and I find myself on the Satanic video, and I'm like, what on earth is going on here? And I watch it, and he actually said that that many politicians and businessmen and people in power come to these caves and make sacrifices and work on the rituals.
Believe it.
Now, he said that firsthand on your YouTube video, right? And that then they must be getting some sort of power from these experiences.
I think they believe it.
Well, is it placebo or not, right?
You think about in this area in Mesoamerica, a sacrifice is so deeply a part of these traditions in this area. So it could just be like the sort of remnants, of that, of the idea of sacrificing something to receive something, receive the blessings of God or receive the blessings of rain or whatever. I asked one of the guys, I said, why are you guys killing these animals for? And he said, we give the devil blood and we give him a sacrifice so that he doesn't take something from us. So basically they believe that Satan has like, he eats 3 meals a day. So they feed him the meals so that he doesn't come and take from them. Metaphorically.
Right. So the whole relationship's built off of fear.
Based off of, I guess so. Based off of not having bad things done to them. So they worship Satan. Yeah. And power too. Definitely power, because a lot of it has to do with like getting money, getting love. So definitely
power over other people.
Power over other people. Definitely. Yeah. Of course it's about that. I don't know if it works.
Well, which would explain. I mean, it's almost like, if you flip the coin over of like, if I sit, for example, me sitting in front of my altar and lighting a candle and making an offering to the Divine Mother to create fertility in my life and fertility in the lives of all of the people that I meet, or abundance or prosperity or well-being, right? Like everything that I'm calling in with my offerings is beauty and blessings for everybody. And yet with the inhale, there's got to be the exhale as a polarity of the human experience. And so we've got the offerings of, I would like power over this individual. I would like this person to suffer because they made me suffer. And ultimately, what I've learned just about the law of karma and the Akashic records, everything has to come back to its place of origin from where it once ripples. And so if you wish someone well, then you send that out and that energy does come back to the place of origin in which it was emitted. So then if you wish someone bad, or if you wish someone ill, or if you wish someone to suffer, the law of karma has to ensure that same energy returns to the place of source. So surely for me, I don't know anything, right? But just from what I presume would be that these kind of experiences are only just creating more suffering for the individual inflicting them.
It's hard to say, I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, the second time I went to visit them, we went to the cave again. And you went back after this, like trudging through the mud, millions of cockroaches. Millions is an exaggeration. Hundreds of cockroaches all over the wall. You've got a ghost sacrificed, and you're back. No, I've never seen them sacrifice anything. They never sacrificed nothing in front of me.
But you did see it stretched out, almost crucified on a cross.
Yes, absolutely. It was crucified on the cross. Yeah, for sure. That's in the video.
Dakota Wint now decides to go back. See, now that in itself, you have a fascinating mind. The fact that you're willing to go back, and who's we, by the way? Who's your accomplice in all of this?
The same guy.
Okay, so all right, this dude that's running the show.
Yep. So the Satan guy in that video, Enrique. We went to go make another video at the scary cave, the real scary cave, and on the way back, we got into a car accident. Spooky.
On the way you got into a car accident?
Mm-hmm. No mummies.
Well, does this not just reinforce what I was just saying? It's like the
maybe
thing has to come. It's like messing with any of this stuff. It's just like I'm just fascinated by.
Ceremony,
huh?
In my ayahuasca ceremonies, I have lots of mushrooms too. This is something that is very common for me, is to see crazy astral creatures.
You saw astral creatures in your eye. Wait, you broke up for a second. You saw astral creatures in your eye.
Sorry, I thought you were just looking at me.
No.
No, just in general, yeah. Don't notice in like when I do my in most ceremonies, if I'm deep in the medicine, I'm communicating with all kinds of beings. They look like I've seen so many demonic looking beings and things that look super scary, and normal looking spirits and spirits of light. And this is like super normal for me. And I'm not sure if that's because I'm hanging out with these types of guys that this stuff happens to me, but it's totally normal for me to have these experiences deep in ceremony.
Yeah, that's not my experience at all. I don't see any of that stuff.
I've seen like this one time I was in Peru and a dead girl came to me during ceremony. Like a white, like a human girl.
It's like the movie Sixth Sense. You're like, I see dead
It was
people.
like that. It was definitely like that.
Wait,
Yeah.
she came to you, and what did she do? Because honestly, that is literally what all of my worst nightmares are made up of watching far too many horror films as a kid and just having way too much of that like awareness in my consciousness, like horror film.
It was
programming.
a scary. Okay, so it was the first ceremony. I was always like, when I was stuck in quarantine in Peru, I would take the little doses of ayahuasca because I didn't want to do it all the time. And they would always, everyone, it seemed like everyone but me was so stoked to do it all the time. So I was like, I'll just do a little and I'll just like take a nap while you guys do your ceremony. This ceremony, Eligio, Maestro Justina's son, didn't give me the option. He just gave me a huge cup and just said here with like some like shit grin on his face. And I was just like, whatever. This, you know, if this is my karma right here to have a dose of ayahuasca. I took it, and maybe like 15, 20 minutes later, it was already starting to get crazy. Everything was melting, and it was just like my whole body felt like it was just like being pulled into the center of the earth. And after like making my like breathing my way through it, like, okay, you're gonna be okay. Don't make a big scene. You know, just relax, sit up straight, breathe. And once I calm myself down, I like seen this little girl. I had a vision of a little girl and she was dead, and she had like her lips were chapped and sort of like cracked, and her cheek was sort of like cracked open, and she was white and blue as if she was like cold or something. And she had this blue dress on with like puffy white things right here. And she just stood there. She didn't say anything. She just stood there.
That's
and
horrifying.
I told the shamans, I was like the next day, I was like, hey, a dead girl came to me. And they said, because they knew about me hanging out with the Satanists and stuff too. And they were like, it's because you hang out with those types of guys. Because you hang out with the brujos that you get these, you attract like these weird types of energies and spirits to you.
Does that not scare you?
I
would be like,
I got another crazy one for you. You'll like this one. So I was in India hanging out with the Cannibals. That's another long story to get into.
That's you're so casual when you deliver these bombs. You're just like, oh, I was in India hanging out with cannibals.
Yeah, it was an adventure I went on that it was a adventure. So this guy, Kashi Baba, took me to go look for dead bodies in the Ganges River in Varanasi. And anyway, he gave me these ashes, human ash from the sacred fire in Varanasi. And Varanasi is a super holy city in India. And Hindus, Jains, Buddhists, people come here to die because they want to be burned in this holy city of Shiva. And they want to be burned in, next to the Ganga. And, before the body is burned, it's washed in the Ganga because they believe that being washed in the Ganga, it purifies the body and delivers you from the cycle of death and rebirth. So day after day, hundreds, thousands of people dead bodies are here in Varanasi being carried through the streets. One time I was drinking chai and getting some street food, and you can always tell when a body's about to come because you hear them chanting in the distance. They chant the same chant every time. They say, Ram Nam Satya Hai, which means Ram's name is truth. God is the truth. So you always hear it like, Ram Nam Satya, Ram Nam Satya. And I was drinking chai and something smacked me in the back of my head. And I looked and it was a dead foot. One of the dead people they were carrying past me slapped me. The dead foot slapped me in the back of my head. So anyway, Varanasi's a crazy place. And something else that's crazy is that all the bodies that are burned there are set on fire with the same flame. And the same flame has been lit for 3,000 years. There's like 120 people or something, generation after generation, day after day, that keep this flame lit.
Wow.
And here, yeah, it's amazing. It's super deep. And here, there's a deep tradition called the Agori. And these guys are deep tantric yogis. They do very esoteric black magic rituals with dead bodies. So I went to go meet them, and this guy Kashi Baba took ashes from the fire where someone had just been burned and gave them to me. And I brought them home, and I had like a friend staying the night, and my friend the next day was like, hey, I had a crazy nightmare that there was an Indian guy in your room and he was choking me. Oh my God. I still have it right here. Check this out. No, I don't want to show you. Never mind. So, okay, I took the ashes back to India to put them back in the Ganga. I was like, I'm gonna find Kashi Baba, the guy that gave me the ashes. And, you know, said I should have seen the signs, because when Kashi Baba was walking through the fire grounds, his little robe caught on fire as he was getting me the ashes. So I was like, oh shit, that's a bad omen right there. And Kashi Baba is a crazy guy. He's another one of those crazy guys. He's not like the enlightened sadhu that you want.
He's the one in the cave that's smoking the hash with the eyes in two different directions.
Crazier than the cave guy. Kashi Baba's like, you give me $150 and we'll go look for a dead body. Or I'll eat a dead body, or I'll do whatever you need me to do. So that's kind of what Kashi Baba's like. So I was like, I'm going to go back to India. I'm going to find Kashi Baba, and we're going to put the ashes in the Ganga, and we're going to do a ritual and liberate these people, because there's no reason that they need to be with me. And also another weird story about that is from that day, Kashi Baba, I met Kashi Baba, and I met another Baba. I forget what his name was. But anyways, this other Agori Baba took ashes that he was carrying around with him in the top of a human skull, and he put his hand in the ashes and rubbed it on my forehead, the ashes all over my forehead. And that night, after meeting Kashi Baba and getting the ashes from him, meeting this guy and the guy rubbing the ashes on my head. This is normal, by the way. This is totally legal in India. I'm not doing anything crazy. Well, I mean, it is crazy, but like in Varanasi, these guys take these ashes and they cover themselves in it as a part of their spiritual practice, to be in the awareness of the fact that life is temporary. This is their like symbolic, a lot of sadhus wear orange to represent their renunciation from the world. Orange sort of represents fire and burning away of the attachments and the desire. So a lot of these sadhus in India or Buddhist monks, they will wear orange to represent detachment. These guys wear human ash to represent detachment. So the guy rubbed the ash on my head. I take a shower, and it's in this little Indian bathroom, tiny, like the shower's right here, the toilet's right next to the shower. The sink and the mirror are right directly in front of the shower. So I'm watching myself take a shower in the mirror. I can see myself. Like I could probably touch the mirror if I reach my hands out. Little tiny square bathroom. And I watched all the ashes wash off my forehead. And I just have this crazy like flash of memories of like a little kid playing in the street with his friends and like swinging on a tire swing, or sneaking out of your house, or falling in love, or getting your heart broken. I had all these different emotions and memories flash through my head. And then it like just like hyper focused, tunnel visioned me onto the ashes being washed away. And it's just like, man, it's crazy. Everything in life, it all ends in this. And no matter where we're from in the world, we all kind of go through these same sort of stories. We all fall in love. We're all searching for kind of the same thing ultimately. But at the end, it just gets washed away from, or burned away. And yeah, the Agori are crazy. They do this one ritual called the Shava Sadhana. And this is what I was looking forward to document when we were looking. So Kashi Baba was taking me to look for a dead body to do the Shava Sadhana. The Shava Sadhana is where they find a body in the river, because people that are too poor to afford wood to burn the body, they just say like, oh, fuck, we can't afford it. So you just throw the body in the river. And then the Agoris and the dogs or whatever's in the water fight over the bodies. And they just kind of get washed up down shore somewhere. And the Agoris will be waiting, and they'll pull these bodies out of the water. draw a circle around it, put candles and oil, and they'll put oil in the mouth of the body, like prop the mouth open, put oil in it, and build a candle in the mouth. And then all night they'll do this ritual where they're meditating on top of the dead body, and they're saying some crazy mantras for the entire night. I think it might even be a 3-day ritual. And if they're successful, a goddess comes to them, like Kali, or what they call like the Smashantar, the goddess of the cremation, comes to them and offers them a special power, some kind of special power. I don't know if it's to read minds or to bring things back from the dead or heal people. These Agoris, like they have all kinds of powers, people say. Sometimes people will, if someone's bit by like a cobra or something, they'll take them to the Agori to heal them. They're kind of like the crazy witch doctors. I'm working on a little video I filmed there. It's like 2 years old, and I've just started working on it maybe like the beginning of this year, and I haven't finished it yet. But you kind of get to see the whole journey of me and Kashi Baba going to look for the dead bodies in the water. And yeah, it's all on there. The guy putting this thing on my forehead.
I can't help but think about these people that are sitting at home with their 9-to-5s and their white picket fence and their 2 kids and their wife and their regular jobs and watching Netflix all evening. And you're out here pulling dead bodies out of a river and washing human ash off your forehead and getting premonitions of dead girls coming to you and visiting you. And I mean, just literally the difference of in your comfort zone, outside your comfort zone. This happens on the planet. Someone's got to tell
I do things that aren't scary too, though.
You what?
Yeah.
Wait, what did you say?
I do things that aren't scary too, like because I don't only do scary stuff.
I mean,
I do beautiful adventures too. Like well,
it's fascinating just because of the stories. The stories that I've necessarily picked up are the ones that I'm like I'm like at the edge of my seat and I'm like scared. And I'm also thinking, I wonder what my listeners are going to think, hearing these, because this is so off topic from what I would usually talk about on the podcast.
Check this out. Tell me this wouldn't be cool to make a movie about these hippies. They go to India and they're looking for enlightenment. They go to Varanasi, the sacred city of Shiva, and they're looking for a guru or something. And they meet an Agori sadhu, and he kidnaps one of them and sacrifices them. Tell me that wouldn't be a crazy horror movie.
It would be. I mean, it would be a very fascinating horror movie that I would never, ever, ever watch.
It'd be so good. Indians would be so mad at me though, or whoever made that.
Yeah. No. I mean, would you want to make something like that?
No, but it would be a good movie.
Yeah.
I would never want to demonize them because they're not bad. They're not evil people. So I would never want to paint the picture that they're evil.
Right.
But it would be a great plot for a movie.
I mean, it's definitely scary even just talking about it or thinking about it, because ultimately, I mean, if you watch that movie and then you go to India and it's based on some sort of a true story, then that can definitely it's like watching Jaws as a kid. I didn't go in the ocean.
I'm still scared of Jaws.
I didn't go in the ocean for years. I didn't even go in the bathtub for about a year afterwards. I was just any sort of large body of water. I was please don't.
Or empty pools. Empty pools are scary.
Yeah. Specifically after watching things like The Ring and stuff, and combining The Ring with Jaws and being Samara, that little girl, could be in the pool right now and she'd pull me under, and I would. This is literally what fear programming does, though. It completely programs something super innocent like a swimming pool, and it turns it into the scene of a horror movie, and you're the main character, and it's your responsibility to get out the fuck out of the water as soon as possible, otherwise you're going to be pulled in and it's going to be game over. And what I think is actually just so fascinating is that, and I think I keep circling back to this because I still can't fully wrap my head around it, is, well, first and foremost, when I met you, and just my friendship with you, you're actually full of a profound amount of light. You hold this really beautiful, unconditionally loving, compassionate, soft, peaceful, pure. And if anything's going on inside of you, you are like a little cherub. And if there's anything's going on inside of you that's not unconditional love, you're not gonna really project that out. You will just be and hold it and ultimately, I don't know really where that's going, but you're not one to project or let any of that out and to be out into the external world. And simultaneously, with that being said, And I think that's why, like you and I have maintained our friendship. It's just because like there is like a soul recognition, or from my lens anyway, of like, I see you, like my little cosmic brother, like this is amazing. And I think I'm also put in the frame, even just like our little like settings right now, I'm sort of put in the frame of like, it's very light and angelic and all of that sort of stuff. And simultaneously, I am fascinated by these stories because, first and foremost, they are not in my everyday reality. And secondly, I would never put myself in these situations. And thirdly, they exist right now on this planet. And so it expands my awareness. I'm just so fascinated by the fact that you will go not only once, but twice into these situations. You carry a profound amount of light and you're not scared about it. And not let this like, horror movie programming interrupt you from actually going down, this river with this individual that is pulling dead bodies out of it and sitting on it for 3 days straight, meditating and hoping they'll get some sort of superpowers.
Yeah, basically. But to redeem myself, like I've done other nice things. Like I went to the tomb of Jesus. I went to the tomb of Moses, the tomb of Abraham. I'm overall just interested in spirituality, in the way that spirituality is sort of like water, and there's many faucets that it comes out of. Some faucets are satanic faucets. It's okay. Some of them are just satanic faucets, and some of them are. But what I'm really interested in is the thing beneath all of it. Like, what is, because everyone ultimately we're all sort of looking for connection to something beyond ourselves. We're looking for something, a way to frame it based on our environment, the way we were raised. We're limited with what we're, the stuff we have, what we were raised with, our culture. We're real limited. So like we have to find a framework to connect. And, some of those are satanic and some of those are cannibals, I can't imagine what it would be like to be born in a little village in India, and you come from a lineage of people that practice like a deep form of tantric magic yoga. And that's just your life. You don't know anything other than that. And that's going on right now. And it's ultimately, well, for one, humans are just such interesting animals because like, what are like, and also because it's just cool. It's just, it's spiritual. We are super spiritual. We're super spiritual animals that find a way to express that no matter what situation we're in. And I feel like that's what I love. And that's why I just am so fascinated to hang out with people that are expressing it in such exotic ways, like through killing an animal or through sitting on a dead body or through like, worshiping some Middle Eastern prophets like Jesus, or worshiping the realizations of the Buddha or Krishna, chanting the names of Krishna. Or there's just so many forms, and none of those forms actually really show what it is. A million different names, and none of them say what it is. And I just like sort of watching it.
I'm really actually super stoked that we did this podcast because circling all the way back to the beginning of our conversation where we met at that was not an appropriate sound, by the way, for this moment, but whatever. Circling all the way back to where I met you at Arcana, even in the sharing circles after the ceremonies, you didn't speak, you didn't share. And like we would sit at the dining room table and you would be like the silent observer, just listening to people's conversations and listening to stories, and then occasionally posing questions. But it was never really about like, unless, like I would show up and be like, I find you fascinating. I keep wanting to like pull back more layers and asking you questions. You didn't really share a whole lot, but it's fascinating being on this podcast now as me being the interviewer and you being the interviewee. And you actually opening up in your mouth and sharing your lens on life and sharing your experience. It's so fascinating for me to be able to peel back the layers of Dakota Wint and the how many stories and how much you have going on. That, I mean, I guess this is what helps having a podcast and having a YouTube channel, but just in everyday life, you're actually quite a quiet
Super
reserved
quiet.
individual.
Yeah. I get it all out in these adventures, you know. All my extroverted energy goes into those bursts.
What's on the horizon for you? What are you feeling excited about that you want to create and that you want to go next to continue to peel back the layers of the taboo cultures that are happening on the planet?
I want to finish this Agori stuff, this cannibal little documentary I made. I really need to get it done. I just have no drive to finish it for some reason.
It's a documentary in the sense of like it's an hour and a half long, or is it just more so like another YouTube video?
I think it's like 20 minutes long, and it's like about our journey of finding these guys and sort of explaining what they are. And it's like, I guess I wouldn't call it a documentary, but it's like I don't know. It's not done yet, so I don't even know. Who knows how it's going to turn out. But it's about the story about us trying to find the dead bodies, and, you know, just talking about the exotic expression that is the Agori. Even the name Agori, that's like a good horror movie name, Agori.
I mean, you've got gory.
Agori. Yeah, right? And it's an interesting Agori. Agori means, I think in Sanskrit, Gori means something unpleasant, maybe something like that, something unpleasant. And Agori means something that is pleasant. So their whole thing is about turning the unpleasant into pleasant, which is why they do the ash and the dead bodies, and they'll eat trash off the ground or whatever, because it's about completely overcoming the ego. I want a 5-star meal, so I'm going to eat this trash off the ground despite my ego. It's a crazy practice, but if anyone understands oneness, these guys, you know, really understand it in some crazy way.
You retain information really well. Like,
do I?
You remember names and certain things and insights in a way that you're sort of like a walking encyclopedia for fantastic stories.
I wanted to redeem myself I wanted to talk about Jesus for a second, because it's not only satanic and cannibals.
I know, and I also have to take full ownership that I was the one that pried you in those directions, because I'm the one that finds them fascinating. So I definitely take full ownership for directing you in those ways. Now let's talk about Jesus.
Some people believe Jesus went to India. So I went to some of the places that he was supposed to have been. That was really interesting. There's a cave in Rishikesh called the Jesus Cave. And these two different yogis in different eras went there and had visions of Jesus. So people believe that these visions were real and that Jesus went there. So some people go there to meditate or whatever. And I actually hang out there a lot when I'm in Rishikesh. I just go and sit there because it's a really beautiful area and really easy to get to. It's right by Vaishista Cave for anyone that's in India or that goes and hangs out in Rishikesh. Behind Vaishista Cave is the Jesus Cave. And, you know, in Kashmir, up in the north of India, there is a tomb that the locals say is the tomb of Jesus. And that during the missing years of Jesus, he went to India and learned meditation, learned yoga. And that's when he came back and spoke his teachings. But he actually had learned these from Hindus and maybe Buddhist. And there's a tomb there. And in India, it's really normal to put the feet of the saint that has died by the tomb. Like you'll see a cast of their feet. And this one has holes in the feet, which is interesting. Like, you know, from the crucifixion. I went to Jerusalem and I went there to see the Jesus tomb. There's 2 tombs of Jesus. They don't know which one's real or if either of them are real. They both of the places claim that this is the real one. That was pretty cool to see.
I went there as well.
Did you? Which one? The both of them?
Just the one that's got like the large marble slab in it, though apparently.
Yeah, that's the Church of the Holy Sepulchre.
Yeah, I went there and they have like little, holy water from the River of Jordan and all of the different things in there. And my parents took me there as a kid. They thought they thought it was very important as a child for me to be raised around watching these different practices in these different cultures. And they would make it a huge stamp of like statement for me to be a very well-traveled individual that was experiencing all different levels and flavors and textures of cultures. So it's actually very, it's very similar.
The secrets that are in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre.
Huh?
Can you imagine the secrets that are in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre?
Oh, I mean,
there's probably like secret passages and stuff. You know, when I was there, I was going down little tunnels and like going down corridors where there was no people and going upstairs and looking around in the church where Jesus' tomb is. And I found like this little room. You had to like crawl down to get into it, and you go down and there's candles. There's a little room and there's like it's like a worship space that's like underneath the church kind of. And you got to like crawl down and get in there to like see it. And there was candles lit and stuff. It was really cool. There's probably so much going on in that church.
So it says like, this is, you know, if anything says do not enter, this is the direction that you go in.
It didn't say that. No. If it said do not enter, I wouldn't enter. But if it doesn't say that, then, you know, maybe I will.
Off you go. Off he's on his all fours, crawling into a tiny room filled with candles, and he's off on his own little adventure away from the tour group.
Yeah, exactly. And when I was in Jordan, I went to see the Moses Memorial, which is cool. Moses is like a super mystic, a shaman. You can argue that the burning bush or the smoking bush was, you know, a psychedelic experience. A voice spoke to him and gave him religious morals. The Bible's cool because there's a lot of psychedelic references in the Bible that people don't talk about or recognize. There's a really cool guy, Reverend Danny Nemu, and he breaks down all of these different recipes that they were using back in the Old Testament to communicate with Yahweh and to communicate with these different gods. Actually, the Bible talks about gods as a plural thing and that there's more than one God in the Bible. And it's interesting because they talk about like going into the tabernacle and bringing certain plants in there. And like, you know, like when they do gopal and they go around the room with the gopal and smoke the room out, they do that with this little tent, but it's all kinds of different plants, and you hallucinate from the plants and you're able to communicate with Yahweh, and Yahweh will give you information about who to attack or what to do or this or that. And it's totally shamanic, and it's only priests are allowed to do it. So, yeah, I don't know. I find it fascinating how all these traditions, one way or another, have a shamanic conclusion.
I keep thinking about how just having a conversation with you, it puts so many different colors on this canvas. And when you look at like America, as you fly in on an airplane and you see it down and everyone's like tiny ants because you're really high up in the ground, high up from the ground. And you can see how it's all just like concrete blocks, and then like McDonald's and Wendy's and all of these fast food chains on every corner, and everything just looks the same. Having a conversation with you kind of wipes all of that out and just throws all this color on the canvas and all these different mystical dimensions. And not only is it one canvas, but the canvas is actually kind of like when you've got one of those fractal glasses on and you can just see so many different layers of the same canvas. And it's like, oh my gosh, life is way more multidimensional and multifaceted than I ever could even imagine. But when I'm like driving to my 95 and I see Wendy's and McDonald's and Taco Bell on my left and my right, and I just keep seeing the same repetitive stuff, it's so easy to become disconnected with the magic of what it truly means to be human and how fascinating humans are in themselves. To judgment aside, right? Like ultimately, most people, I'm sure, and this would be an assumption, that's listening to this would not put themselves in half of the conversation of all the situations that we've spoken about on the podcast. And simultaneously, by having a conversation with someone that has experienced it firsthand, and not only experienced it firsthand, but made videos of it and put it up online and shared it with the world, and it made it like, you know, your life's work to document and storytell of these places, it allows us to start thinking just a little bit different, a little bit more outside of the box, a little bit more magical.
Well, I mean, this is the first time in human history where it's possible to do this. So I feel like, I feel like I'm really echoing what all these poets and storytellers were doing. They were sort of, you know, sharing their worldview, the magic that they see in the world through words. And now, you know, now we can make videos. It's sort of like an upgraded version of what these guys were doing. And I don't even really need to write anything because the story just happens. I just got to put it together and show it.
and show up and have the courage to even show up in the first place,
Show up.
which separates you from the majority of most individuals. I mean, I feel like I could talk to you for hours because there's just so many, and I feel like we're just scratching the surface of the stories in which you've experienced, or the things you've gone in. You've been with Russian witches, and you have met the real Mama Coco in Mexico. That happened recently.
Yeah, I met the real Mama Coco.
And then you got stuck through COVID for months on end with some shamans that drink gasoline, and
I lived with some sadhus, and for a while. I really want to go to Africa. That's the next big one. I'm saving money for it now. We got the thing that we're planning to do in Uganda. I want to go try to find what African witches. What are they like? They're probably into some real crazy stuff. I like to see what that's about.
Everyone's okay with you filming this stuff? Like, you just show up, this like white kid with a camera, and you're like, "Hey, can I just come on in?" How do you?
Yeah, mostly everyone's cool. Yeah, mostly everyone's cool. I usually pay people for their time, throw them some money, and I'm pretty cool. I feel like, so like people are usually cool with it. Mm-hmm. I very rarely get told no, that I can't film. And I usually, like, when I went to go meet the Satanists and stuff, I had reached out to them on Facebook. I did my research, found them, and reached out. And so they like knew I was coming and stuff. So the filming was all planned. And
amazing. Yeah. And so now you're ready to go to Africa. And
I want to go meet the tribes with the big lip plates. Mm-hmm. And I want to stay with them for a day or so. Overnight camp with them.
My ex-partner, Amir, he is an incredible photographer. And he, when I was in Nepal doing my own little solo pilgrimage, he decided to go out to Africa and do his little solo pilgrimage. And he stayed with the tribes with the lip plates and the neck rings, and all the kids there were braiding his hair and painting each other. And it absolutely, seems completely fascinating, and also incredible that these tribes are still around.
Yeah, so beautiful. And in the north of Ethiopia is very Christian. You find one of the oldest churches in the world there. There's lots of myths that the Ark of the Covenant is there, and it's being guarded by virgins, and generation after generation, these different virgins will guard the Ark of the Covenant. And then there's like one or two monks that also guard it, or friars, or whatever they're called in Christianity. And apparently they have cataracts in their eyes, and they get all these sort of problems from the radiation that is from the Ark of the Covenant. Because apparently the Ark of the Covenant is like some crazy technology that, was used in biblical wars and stuff. I don't know if it's true, but, that's what they say in Ethiopia. And you have hyenas. You can feed hyenas because they just hang out in some towns. Like, street dogs in Mexico, they have hyenas. Hyenas in the streets. Street hyenas. So that'll be cool. Kenya has tons of safaris and tons of cool animal life. Lots of cool tribal stuff going on. There's that all women's village. I would love to take you to. I think you would love it there. It's called like Umuaha, I think, or Umuaja. And these it's just basically these women that have left their communities because of abuse from men, or the bad things that you can imagine they have to deal with. And they started their own community, and they don't allow men there unless these men completely respect the rules. So I'd like to go there and hang out with them. I feel like that'd be really cool.
That sounds amazing. It kind of reminds me of the African version of Wonder Woman, and they've got their whole planet that is just women, and they're all sparring and training and all of this sort of stuff, and massively empowered and sovereign individuals. And we're like, I don't need men.
And then us in Uganda. Should we talk about that? Should we give a little
the skate park?
A little yeah. So I found this guy on Instagram who has been helping out. He's a Ugandan guy, and he's building these skate parks for his community. Little like half pipes and like nothing crazy. And these little kids in Uganda are using the skate park with like broken skateboards and no shoes, no pads. And I thought it would be cool to try to raise money to build them like a proper skate park, get them proper skateboards and knee pads and elbow pads and helmets. And, for like, I feel like $20,000 or something would go a really long way. And we could get real skateboarders involved, and it would be a really cool thing to this be really cool. They're already got the project going. So we kind of just build on the foundation that in the passion that they're already riding on. And, so, I mean, that would be like the end of the trip is we go and we build this skate park for these kids and, make it super cool and super fun and, hopefully make some amazing friends. And then after that, we go look for gorillas. This is my plan. This is pretty much my plan. I've got a couple other places in my notes, but this is like my next year, this time around next year plan.
Next summer.
Yep.
I mean, I feel like you're specifically in a really good place for this in the sense of you're a bridge where you're willing to be, I mean, your adventure is your default.
And the Hadza people, remember when we were talking about going baboon hunting? We got to go do that too.
But not,
it's not definitely not vegan.
Baboons.
They hunt the baboons.
Oh, wait, they hunt the baboons.
Yeah.
Why do they do that? Do they eat?
They eat the baboons.
Oh.
But they're going to do it whether we're there or not. So it's interesting to go there and watch them do it.
Totally. 100%. Yeah, just go highlight these practices in these ways and just bring awareness to people that have no idea.
Imagine like hanging out with those guys. Imagine hanging out with these guys that like they're the Hadza, the people that hunt the baboons. They're real life hunter gatherers. Like that's what they do. Like it's like a legitimate, real tribe. Like real humans. They live outside, they move around, they follow the animals, they migrate with the animals, and they hunt. That's how they eat. Imagine just like spending a week with these guys, asking them their philosophy, like asking them what their thoughts are about the universe or God. It'd be so cool.
No, massively fascinating. You're the perfect person to do this. You have a large following online of like really committed, devoted individuals that are super fascinated by your stories for good reason. And you have the ability to make to essentially funnel resources and awareness, or necessarily resources, and to bring them and support these, the skate park and to tell a beautiful story about it. And simultaneously, I think it's what's beautiful about a lot of your videos is they're not necessarily about you. They're about seeing life through your eyes. And so it's not you as the center plate within these spaces, but it's actually just you behind the camera documenting what you're seeing and what you're experiencing, but more so just highlighting and bringing it into the awareness of individuals that this even exists on our planet. And this is what we share our planet with.
Yeah, it's crazy. Because I mean, you just think life is what it is, like what you see. Like when, like so many families, they just are, I mean, people are just stuck in their bubbles.
Yeah.
And it's insane. I mean, like when people talk about going to other countries and having like culture shocks, it's really real. I usually get it when I come home. I come home and I'm just like, man, how are all of you guys so oblivious to like what is going on in the world? You're just like pissed off about your drive-through order taking too long, or, Starbucks forgot to put ice in your coffee, or whatever. It's like how it's more culturally shocking to come to America than it is to go to some of these other places.
No, I can totally understand that. It talks about this in the Gene Keys, how the reason why we can't because the reason why we can't share is because we're so distracted, we're so disconnected with actually what's going on in the world, that we are so distracted by what we're going to have for dinner and who we're going to text back and did I respond to all of my emails, and there's just a million things to be distracted by. Our empathy can't feel into what's happening on the other side of the planet, and so that's what creates and feeds the division, is distraction at the root of it. And so even if I'm just like on YouTube and I'm scrolling and I get a recommended video and it's like, who's this Dakota of Earth guy? And I like press on it and it like opens up and he's, over here bringing awareness into these spaces. It is actually fascinating. And then creating funnels. It's like how to create funnels to funnel the resources, or to share the resources that we have over here in the West, where we're all miserable for the most part and feeling unsatisfied in consumerism mentality. And then there's like a deeper sense of joy and peace, but with so much less. And how the East and the West can learn from each other. And I think that the bridge of that is storytelling.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's all we have at the end of the day. What do we do to make it through life? You know, it's the stories that keep us going. It's the stories that we use to relate to one another. You know, I love my job. I love my family. Whatever, you know, people say, it's all a story. They love the story of their life, and we relate to other people's stories. Oh, they lost their dog. I would be so sad if I lost my dog. So it's like at the end of the day, stories are sort of the spell binding linguistic manifestation that we use to not only create the reality, but to share it with each other. And we can use words and stories and symbols to change the narrative and to change the story and to create beautiful stories and to do cool stuff. I think. Maybe.
Well, you're doing it. And I could talk to you forever.
You're doing it with me.
Like we've been, and I am. I'm right here. I'm here for the ride. It's definitely a very interesting one that you've already started, and it's like a roller coaster. And I'm like kind of standing next to the roller coaster, like, I have a ticket. Can I come on? It looks really
just wait.
exciting.
Just start. Imagine like a year from now, it's gonna be real crazy. We're gonna get into some really fun stuff.
It's just the start. But I wanted to introduce you to the Bluebirds. You inspired me to the Bluebirds. You inspired me to change my Instagram name. It was, I kind of, I've just been like, Charlotte Victoria Blue. People started calling me Charlotte, and I was like, no, but I go by Blue. And I was like trying to integrate like all aspects of myself through my name, but it was just not the right Instagram handle. And I was like in the inquiry of what it wanted to be. And then I don't think I've actually spoken to you about this besides over like text and being like, hey, would this be inappropriate?
No, I think you totally embody the name. You're a total love earther.
I do. I love this planet. And I just like one night with sitting with the grandmother ayahuasca, and I just kept getting Blue of Earth. And I completely forgot that your handle was Dakota of Earth. And I was like, oh, Blue of Earth. Oh, I like that. And then I was thinking, is it Blue on Earth or Blue of Earth? And I was like, Blue of Earth. Blue of Earth. Blue of Earth. And I was like,
I see some on Earth copiers a little bit sometimes. I see them popping up in my likes on Instagram, like someone on Earth. I'm just like, for it. There's no reason the Walmart version just be the of Earth. Yeah. I think everyone should change their names to the of Earth. Whatever your name is, of Earth, because you know we're of Earth. This is our home. The whole place is our home. It reminds me of like, especially you, like your ancestors. They would have been talking like, "Hello, I'm Roger I'm Roger of Edinburgh or whatever." That's like where your ancestors come from. So we're keeping the tradition alive. Now you're Blue of Earth.
And now I'm Blue of Earth because it just was very clear as day. And then I was like, wait, isn't that Dakota's name?
I'm Roger of Edinburgh.
I'm Charlotte of Cheshire.
There you go. Roger's not very English name, is it? Roger,
yeah.
It is an English name? Okay, good.
Roger, and not Edinburgh is not a place. A place. No, but it could be. I mean, it sounds pretty English, but it would be Edinburgh or Glastonbury. I think that you just merge them together and make Edinburgh. I'm Roger of Edinburgh. Anyway, you were cool with it, and so I went and rocked it and changed the name to Blue of Earth, and it's stuck, and it feels really good. And
yeah, I like it. It looks cool. It looks like aesthetically pleasing too.
Yeah, nice. Did you know I used to be called Blue Cosmic Eagle on Instagram? BLU Cosmic Eagle.
That's a good one too.
Yeah, but Logan Paul was reading it, and he was like, Blue Cosmic Eagle. He's like, I can't wrap my head around this. I'm like, Blue Cosmic Eagle. Like, he was like, what is this? And I was like, it's Blue Cosmic Eagle. He's like, I do not read it like that. And then after he said that to me, I was like, damn it. And I was like reading it over, and then I didn't change it because of what he said, but I just felt like Blue Cosmic Eagle.
Blue Comic Seagull.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, ultimately, everything is whatever, however you perceive it. But Blue of Earth feels like out of all of the Instagram names I've had up until this point, which I've changed them a lot, feels like, like it does feel true. It feels good.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a vibe. It's a lifestyle.
Ultimately, everything in life comes down to two categories. It's either the vibe or it's not the vibe. And so I just got the seal of approval from Dakota that Blue of Earth is, in fact, the vibe.
Here we are. We're on the vibe.
Alrighty. So I told you that the podcast would be an hour long. We're now at 2 hours with a few moments of glitches with Mercury and retrograde. What sound are you going to throw at us? What you got?
Can you hear it?
No.
It's just crickets.
Oh. Oh, it's probably because they're really high. I don't hear. I want one of those machines. It's so amazing.
Yeah, you need one. They're so cool.
I'll get one of those machines. I don't hear the crickets because they're too high pitched for me. I can't hear crickets. That's just part of it. Anyways,
that's good.
Okay, so if all of my listeners or anyone that's listening to this or watching this and they want to follow you, Dakota, they want to be a part of the crew and they just want to really understand what's going on and they want to see the sadhus and they want to follow you. How do they find you? What are your handles? What's going on?
Well, my name is Dakota. Oh, that's my antivirus going off again. Dakota Wint. Wint, Wint. Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Dakota of Earth. A Place for Humans podcast. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Amazing.
That's me. A Place for Humans.
And I have one final question for you.
Hit it. Hit me with it.
For the next 15 seconds, your microphone is actually connected to a global broadcast and you have one thing to share with the world.
Oh, come
15
on.
seconds. What would you say?
Oh, come on. If I had 15 seconds and it was hooked to a global broadcasting,
yeah. So it's like the president stands at his podium and it goes all global and it's on every single TV screen and every radio station. You got 15 seconds. What would you say?
I would say something like, listen, the governments are lying to you. You need to gather, collectivize in your communities, overthrow the authorities. They're not real authorities. Reclaim power into yourself, into the individual. Everything's going to be okay. Reality is an illusion. Nothing is actually real. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't overthrow the government. So bond together with your friends, hold hands, go throw a brick through a Starbucks window, burn the system. Burn the system. Life is beautiful.
That's not a life message. Jeez. Throw a brick through your Starbucks window. Okay. Well, there you go. There you
Destroy
have it.
Consumerism.
Oh my. 15 seconds.
Capitalism is destroying the world. That's what I would say.
You're not afraid to go there, huh?
Well, that's what I would say. If the whole world was listening to me, that's the message I would want to give: is to overthrow the government and destroy the corporate interests that are not in our benefit and that are destroying the world. And these people that are that claim power over us, that use profit. Their whole claim to power is to extract profit from us, from our existence. So if I had 15 seconds, I would tell people that is to overthrow politicians. Put a politician's head on a stake.
Well, you know what? If I had an award for one of the most interesting podcasts to date, I would have to give it to you, Dakota.
You should. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
You won a Bluebird Award for most interesting and out there podcast.
Thank you.
To point in the history of Deja Blue podcast.
Thank you. Who would get the second place? I gotta see what am I up against?
Second place, most interesting. Reverend Brianna Lynn.
Okay.
Yeah. She talked about cultural appropriation and the witch hunt.
We're gonna have to do a boxing match.
She might beat you.
I'm very weak, so yeah, I don't doubt it.
She's a savage in the best way possible. I know you would love Brianna. Brianna would love you. You two would get along an absolute treat. She's one of my greatest mentors and just guides, and she comes on the podcast quite regularly. And I'll send you the link to the witch hunt and cultural appropriation. You'll vibe with her.
Cool.
Yeah, in a big way.
Shout out homies. Shout out to all the homies. Yeah, shout out to all the homies around the world.
And then eventually, I'll come on your podcast, and I can meet all of it. Do you have a name for your followers?
No.
The of Earthers. You need to give your
The of
following a
Earthers.
name.
No, I've
They're
never.
very good.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll think about it.
Mhm.
What do you call bluebirds? I call them Dakota birds. It's just like something that's making sense.
We can just cross-pollinate our names that we've come up with up to this point and just merge.
What's up, Dakota birds?
Bluebirds has a little bit more of a ring to it.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, let's close out this podcast. Thank you so much,
Okay, love
Dakota,
you.
for being here.
Love you. Thanks for having me on here.
Yeah, loved
Om
it.
Shanti.
And to all of you bluebirds, thanks for tuning in and listening. So grateful to have you here. Go follow Dakota on his magical, massive, crazy, wild, weird, wacky adventures that he is doing and will continue to do and continue to share.
Weird and wacky.
And thanks for tuning in.
And to all you Dakota birds out there, we love you.
Well, love you.
We love you. Life is great. Okay. Everything's okay.